On the cusp, in the car, in between Springfield, Tennessee and Portland, Tennessee. Today is September 11th, 2023. Obviously, 22 years ago, we had the horrible events of 9/11, which I ain't going to go into. We all know what happened. So, I just had the honor of going and playing a song on my friend Laverne. U-Turn Laverne, that's what we used to call her. She was the traffic voice on the radio years ago. And now she's got her own radio show in Springfield, Tennessee. And just about every year she reaches out to me to come sing this song, this 9/11 song that I wrote back in 2015. You know, I'm amazed at all of the things that have come out of that song. I don't want to say anything was life-changing, but actually it kind of is. I mean, that was the song that I played. It's called Ain't Over It Yet. That's the song I played in Montana back in 2016 that caused the owner to want to talk to me about all the things. And if I look back on all the things that have happened in the last 7-8 years, I guess that would have been 7 years ago. I mean, that came as a direct result of him hearing me sing that song. And it's not even that it's not about me or this song is so great or nothing. I think what it is, it's about the spirit of it, the heart of what I was trying to say. And I go back to why I wrote it. I did not write it so it could go do everything it's doing. I wrote it because I had to write it. I had all of those feelings pent up and those emotions, and I had to get them out on paper with my guitar in my hand. And that was that. That was my only motivation at the time. And I wanted to go play it just because I wanted to get that out of my system. So, right now I want to tell you, I'm on the cusp of something that in 13 days I can't believe I'm fixing to go do. I'm fixing to go run. I've been calling it a marathon, but it turns out it's not. It's a 5K. I didn't know the difference between a 5K and a marathon, and I don't know why they're called 5K. Can I just say, what the crap? Why are we calling them 5Ks? It ain't even 5 miles. Why? We don't use kilometers in this country. Why do we call it a 5K when it's a 3-point-whatever something mile thing? I mean, I can't believe I didn't even know what I was signing up for because I don't use kilometers. There's just so many things that I'm so confused by the way we do things. But I'm not going to say we because I ain't got a mouse in my pocket and I ain't the one who started all this stuff. So whoever's out there perpetuating all this stuff about kilometers and stuff, look, just call it what it is. It's a 3-point-something mile run. Now, is it a race or not? I don't know. I guess it depends on who you are. But I've signed up for it. And I'm on the cusp of it. And I can't believe I'm doing it. Because, man, only place I run to is the bathroom, just about. I don't even really run anywhere other than maybe when I go play basketball. I love to go play basketball, but I ain't doing it to run. I'm doing it to play basketball. So how in the world am I fixing to do, and I haven't even announced this on this, I'm almost 4.5 minutes in. I'm on the cusp of running a 5K in New York City in 13 days. And I just ate Bojangles right now, and I'm driving in the car. And I'm starting to get a little concerned. I've been hiding my concern. Because at the end of the day, I'm really not that concerned. I mean, how hard can it be, right? I think right now I could pull this car over and run to the house. I think I could, but that's, I haven't tried that. So I don't know. I'm in cowboy boots at the moment. Well, one day, I was going down to Broadway back about 6 months ago. And this is how this happened. I decided I'd been doing all these gigs. When I say Broadway, I'm talking about the party Broadway section of Nashville. Party section, bachelorette groups, I don't know, 70 bars, or at least 70 bands playing at one time. It's crazy. And sometimes it's just solo acoustic acts, and I got on this roster. And that just happened out of nowhere, and I ended up on this roster. Next thing you know, I'm playing all these bars, and I'm like, what am I doing? You know, I've never done this. So I'm playing all these bars, and I had a Saturday night gig at the Valentine Bar down on Broadway. And I'm just like, dude, this is going to be one of those nights, you know. It's like 8 p.m. to midnight, and that's rough for a guy that doesn't do any modern country. I mean, I'm playing like Brooks and Dunn and Alan Jackson and Johnny Cash and Elvis, you know. So I'm hoping that whoever makes it to the third floor of the Valentine likes my kind of music, because if they don't, they ain't gonna like me. You know, I can't be something I'm not. So I'm anxious about that, even though I've been doing it, and I'm kind of almost already burnt out on it. But hey, man, it's a job, and I got my guitar, and I'm going downtown. And anytime I get out of the car and I'm walking through downtown Nashville with a guitar over my back going to a gig, I don't care what it is, I am absolutely grateful, because I just can't believe that I get to do this. At the end of the day, that's the feeling. The overwhelming feeling is, man, I used to dream of this. I get to do this. So that's always won. That emotion wins over all the other ones. So I just go with it. So one day I'm going down there to play this gig. It's that Saturday. And I get out, and there is the Tunnel to Towers 9/11 museum. It's a mobile museum in a trailer setting up. And I'm just like, what is that doing here? And I remembered a friend of mine, Larry Jenkins, had told me that they were in town, but I didn't know where they were. And he had told me to get my 9/11 CD and just have it with me in case I seen it. Well, actually, I did have this song on a CD in my car. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go get that thing. And I'm going to go walk through there, and I'm not going to give him the song if it feels weird. But if it doesn't feel weird, I'm going to give it to him. So I go back into the parking garage. I grab this CD. I mean, that's so old school. I mean, it's 2023. Who listens to CDs? Whatever. I go get it. I go back. I walk through this museum, and I'm just absolutely blown away. I'm so moved by this event by this, presentation. And what really moved me is the people who were working there were firefighters from the towers that day, from 9/11. They were there that day. And so they told their story with that thick New York accent. And, you can tell these guys are not professional speakers. They're speaking from the heart as they recall the events of that day. And they're showing these different pictures and these different artifacts from the location, Ground Zero, that are on display in this Tunnel to Towers museum. So for those who don't know, I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but Tunnels to Towers is an organization that does a lot of great things. And they came out of the story of a firefighter who was in the tunnel leaving his shift that morning. And when the planes hit the buildings and the buildings came down, when the planes hit the towers, he was in the fire truck leaving Manhattan in the tunnel, stuck in traffic, and he realized on his radio something was going on. I believe his name was Stephen Tiller. And he decided to get all his gear on and just leave the truck and go back to the towers, which is quite the hike. So he left the truck and ran through the tunnel, and somebody in a car in the traffic snapped a picture of him running back towards the towers with this fierce, determined look on his face. And this man was never seen again. And what they know and believe is that he ran into the buildings and they came crashing down on him. And his truck sat in the tunnel and nobody knew what happened to him. And I guess it was somebody came forward with that picture, and it proved that Stephen Tiller gave his life in service for others. And it's just an amazing story. So they started this organization, and these firemen, they go around and tell this story. And I believe they're retired. And they all have health problems from that day. So I walked through here just completely blown away and emotional. And I ended up talking to a couple of those guys. And finally, I got up the nerve to hand them my CD. And honestly, it felt kind of icky because it's like, dude, I don't want to be the guy who's like, I'm tired of being the guy. And I have been this guy. Hey, here's my song. Y'all want to listen? Check out my song. And I just I'm over that in my life now. I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm tired of that part of this business where I feel like I always have to be, promoting myself. And just to be honest with you, I'm sick of that. And I'm almost to the point where I'd rather the chips, fall where they may without me promoting myself than to say, well, if I would have said something, I'm just like, whatever. But that day I felt like I just need to go ahead and hand them this CD. So I did. And I downplayed it. I was like, hey, look, here's a song I wrote about that day. I said, I don't know why I'm handing you this, but I wanted to give it to you, but, whatever. And I'm trying to, talk it down as I'm handing it to them, which is ridiculous. And these guys, they grab it. One of them it goes, you wrote this, with this intense, aggressive style. And I was like, oh, yes, sir. And he, holds it up. He's like, hey, come here. Everybody get over here. And he gets all these guys around. I can't do a good New York accent. And all these firemen and stuff, big dudes, muscles in their 50s and 60s, they're standing around gruff, rough, and, look at this guy. Oh, look at this song. He wrote this. Oh, you wrote that? Oh, no way. You got to be kidding me. Oh, my gosh. It's just going on, this whole thing. I'm just like, wow. Okay. Where you playing? I said, well, I'm actually playing, because I had my guitar on my back, so they could see I'm going to play. Where you playing? I said, well, I got a gig tonight, and it's not a big deal. Just over here, and all the honky tonks. I mean, and they're like, where? I go, well, it's a Valentine bar, but it's the third floor. You probably don't want to push your way up through there. I mean, it's ridiculous. You go all the way up there. There's no elevator. Third floor. What time? I was it's 8 p.m. to midnight. I mean, it's peak hour. It's good. You won't even have a place to sit down. And I'm trying to talk them out of it. And they're like, we'll be there. And just look, I'm sorry about the accent. I'm just trying to tell you how I remember it. So I'm like, all right, okay, whatever. I'm never going to see these guys again, And so I just walked away. And I went to my gig, and I'm in there, and man, it was slammed. It's 10 o'clock. And I've been there 2 hours. I got this other guy I'm playing with, a friend of mine, and we're just doing all these different songs. And just really at this point, it's like you're just hanging on for dear life. And some of these gigs is what it feels like. Because you got 100 and some people. It's very loud. I have these in-ears in, and it's weird, man. Because I'm playing this bar. I can't hear any of the people. All I hear is our in-ears. I'm just running through, I'm having to say, I don't know that song, sorry. I don't know that song, I'm sorry. And I feel like I'm just letting everybody down, but no one cares. Half of them are just drunk. The other half are just talking so loud that we can't hear it just can't hear nothing. It's dark out there. There's random neon lights flashing in my face. There's mirrors everywhere, which I don't understand the mirrors. So it feels like there's 500 people there, and there's only 125, but it just feels tight. The stage is tiny. Third floor Valentine. It sucks. It's a crappy gig. I hope they don't listen to this. But I had almost just quit doing these gigs altogether. I hated playing this gig, and yet I was doing it because, hey man, money's money, right? Whatever, you just do it. So I'm there playing it, and all of a sudden, these guys come in, and they do find a table, and they gather around this table, and I'm going through playing Brooks and Dunn and Folsom Prison or whatever. And I'm like, finally, I got some guys. I can't believe they made it, you know. I got some people that are older in here instead of just all these teenage-looking people, which they're not teenagers. But to me now, they look like it. And so I start singing old songs to these guys, and they hold up the CD. Hey, do this one. And I'm like, no, I can't do the 9/11 song in May in a bar on Saturday night in Nashville. I can't launch into a minor key and start singing a song no one recognizes. And on top of that, it's such a drag of a song. I mean, like, if you're not ready for it, you know, it's way too heavy. I can't do this. Like, I'm breaking every rule if I do that song. An original, oh my gosh. You don't do an original Saturday night on Broadway with a full bar. Bartenders are going to be pissed. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I kind of blow it off. Oh, well, you know, maybe, you know, but they keep on because they're persistent. You got to play the song. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I got to do it. So how am I going to get the bar quiet? I don't really want to. But I mean, the speakers are very loud. So I just said, ladies and gentlemen, you know, and everybody kind of calmed down. And I said, you know, I want to thank the bartenders for working hard, and everybody cheered. Woo! You know, and I said their names, and I said, and now we've got some folks here. These men were firemen on 9/11 in New York City. Can you believe that? And everybody quickly realized, whoa. And they looked at these dudes at this table, and we all were like amazed. You know, I was too, even as I was saying it. And I was amazed that everybody realized how cool that was. And I said, these men have requested a song, and it's not the typical song I would play tonight in this bar, in this situation. But I believe that these men, after all they've gone through, they deserve to get the song played that they've asked for. Don't y'all think? And everybody went, yeah, and held their drinks up. I was like, all right, cool. All right, everybody's on board. And that happened naturally, so I was happy about it. And I launched into the song. And when I got done, all these New York firemen came up, and I came off the stage for a minute because they were coming up to me, and the other guy was about to sing. And man, the bear hugs that I was getting from these men, it was incredible. And the funny thing is, I was crapping on that gig all day long in my mind. I was just I didn't want to do it. And all of a sudden, it was one of the coolest moments that right now, as I look back in my year, it's one of the coolest moments of my year. And they have tears in their eyes. Thank you. There's a line in there. I said, Jesus is the answer to what this world needs. I kind of forced the line in there because I believe in Jesus, obviously, and I want to promote, you know, that Jesus is king. And I may have felt kind of forced in that song, but they seemed to even agree with that line, you know. And they were hugging and told me, come to New York, you got to come to New York. You know, and they giving me their business cards and stuff. And I've reached out to them, and I have decided, see, they do this 5K. They told me that they do it from the spot that Steven Tiller got out of his fire truck and ran back to the towers. They do it where they run through that tunnel and right past that spot and go to the towers. And there's one point, the way they described it, and I haven't done it yet, but they say you come around this corner and you're running with all these people or jogging or whatever. And for every single fireman who died that day on 9/11, there's an American flag being held up by another fireman. I think I'm describing that the way they did. And they said 393 or 3. I'm getting the number wrong right now. I'm embarrassed. But whatever that number was, just envisioning coming around that corner and seeing that, they said it's the most patriotic experience and emotional experience you could have in New York, was the way they described it. And I'm a sucker for New York City. I know it's a big old town with crime and liberalism and, all that stuff. I don't care. I've seen, all the movies, and I love the skyline. 9/11 moved me so much, and I know Washington, D.C. was involved, and I know the other plane in Pennsylvania was involved, but just New York is iconic to me. And to hear it described the way they described it, it sounded like, it was so romantic, in my mind, of this American patriotic moment. I'm going to run that thing. And I went home and I signed up for that marathon. I was like, I'll be in shape. And I'm on the cusp of it, and I ain't in shape at all. I mean, I'm looking at McDonald's right now. I'm in a parking lot over here in Portland trying to finish this up, and there's a McDonald's, and I just ate Bojangles, and I know I ain't going to go there, but it looks pretty good. I'm telling you, I'm not in shape, so I'm on the cusp of failing dramatically at this marathon. But here's the deal. These guys, there's nothing scheduled. I'm not singing the song that I know of. All I know is they told me, bring your guitar. And so I've planned a whole trip to New York City on bring your guitar and running a marathon. And I ain't never run one, and I still don't know why it's called a 5K. And it ain't a marathon. I just called it a marathon, and it ain't one. I don't even know what I'm doing or why I'm going. But I believe the Lord wants me to because, well, okay, let me take that back. I over-spiritualized it. I want to. Maybe God will bless it. That's what I'm hoping. On the cusp, in the car, 22 years after 9/11, maybe that's why I'm going. Just because I can't forget.